Hello, this is Leah Whitehorse from Astrology with the cosmic forecast for February 2015. So we start the month with the pagan fire festival of Imbolc. And Imbolc is sacred to the goddess Bridget or Brede or Brigantia. There's quite a few different forms of her name. Imbolc or Imolg, as it's sometimes called as well, that means in the belly or ewe's milk. So this is because we're getting towards lambing season, the farming calendar. At this time of year in the northern hemisphere, what we're seeing is the first stirrings of spring. And I noticed just yesterday that my daffodils are coming up on the balcony, which makes me smile because I love the springtime. The flower we most associate with February, though, is the snowdrop, which has this beautiful, delicate, white, bell-shaped flower. And this festival is associated with cleansing and purification, and it celebrates the growing strength, the sunlight, and emergence of life. With the growing sunlight and the idea of purification, a really simple way of honouring this festival is to do an early spring clean and light a white candle, because fire is sacred to Bridget and it represents the light of the sun. Imbolc is typically celebrated on the 2nd of February, and then we have this lovely fiery full moon on the 3rd of February. We've got full moon in Leo, and Leo is of course ruled by the sun. Now this full moon is conjunct Jupiter, which makes it loud and proud, and then we've got this fabulous trine over to Uranus, which is kind of like extra sparkle on top of the cake. And the moon is on the Sabian symbol, a pageant with its spectacular floats, moves along a street crowded with cheering people. So immediately we've got this sense of celebrating your achievements. It's about being on show and showing what you can do. There is some tension with this full moon though, because it's going to be at the apex of the Yod. So we've got Pluto in Capricorn, and that's sextile to Chiron in Pisces, and both of them are quincunx to the moon. And because the moon is opposite to the sun, because it's full moon, we've actually got a boomerang Yod going on here. So there's something here about needing to get rid of your demons, the ones that give you stage fright, the fears that stop you performing at your best, whatever the circumstances. With Chiron, it might be that you've got a fear of being rejected, but then we've got Uranus there who's just kind of saying, go for it, just do what you want to do. That's what Uranus is about. Sometimes you have to stand up and be counted, or take the spotlight in some way. With Jupiter in the mix, though, there is a caution about don't promise more than you can give, or don't try to overcompensate in this way. Jupiter's got a real desire to please his audience because he's in Leo. Just be who you are and express your truth. Mercury stations direct in Aquarius on the 11th of February. So we too now can start to focus our energy outwards after this inner journey of the retrograde period. Maybe now you're more sure of the friends that you want to stay connected with, or the people in your group, the people in your network. Perhaps you've gained a new way of looking at things during this retrograde period. So now it's time to put those new perspectives and that new understanding into practice, kind of make it part of your daily life. For those of you who might have experienced any afflictions from this particular retrograde, like computer problems and things like that, communication issues and mixed up messages, this station direct should help to start to unpick any problems that occurred during that time. Now this Yod pattern that I mentioned in the full moon chart, this is actually going to form a backdrop to sort of the rest of all the action that's going on, because what's going to happen is that Jupiter is going to take the place of the full moon. So Jupiter is going to be quincunx to Pluto, quincunx to Chiron, and Pluto and Chiron are still sextile to each other. And this Yod brings up a variety of issues. It's going to be in play from about the 14th of February through to the end of February, and then about the first week of March. Pluto sextile Chiron shows there's a potential for change through healing. This is about reclaiming those parts of yourself that have been lost or rejected or forgotten about. With the apex being Jupiter, maybe there's something here about, do you believe that you can heal? Do you have the faith that things can change? Jupiter does tend to think on the bright side, especially whilst he's in Leo. It's positive outlook, faith and self-belief. Jupiter is a guru, he's a protective force, and generally Jupiter thinks, it'll all turn out okay, it'll be fine. That's his way of being. But Pluto isn't so sure. He's really quite suspicious of this hoping for the best kind of attitude. Pluto's in Capricorn, he wants the facts. So the dilemma here is, with Jupiter and Pluto, it's about, do I hope for the best or do I prepare for the worst? And in this case, really both are true. It's about holding both perspectives without one taking away from the other. Now, with this quincunx to Chiron from Jupiter, maybe there's something here about who or what do you believe? There's mentors and teachers and guides everywhere. There's millions of books and articles and courses on spiritual development and personal development and how you can live your true potential, etc. The question is, who or what do you believe? Who do you trust? Which teachings apply to you and which don't? What do you resonate with? There's lots of questioning going on about, what's my philosophy? What do I actually believe in? Which belief system do I subscribe to? So we've got this questioning Yod. And if you find yourself in this dilemma, this thing about trust, the key really is about learning to trust yourself, because when you trust yourself, then you kind of know what resonates with you because you feel it. And you trust that feeling. And with Jupiter in Leo, it's really about feeling it in your heart. We have a new moon in Aquarius on the 18th of February. Now, there's been quite a lot of talk already about this new moon. This is because it falls at the very, very, very end of Aquarius. It's literally in the last second. My computer and program actually shows it as 30 degrees Aquarius, which you just hardly ever see this. So there were some questions about, is it in Pisces or is it in Aquarius? And this is interesting because it's almost like not one thing or another. And that's quite symbolic of Aquarius because that sign doesn't like to be pigeonholed. Now, with this, we've got quite a lot of tension going on in this new moon. Firstly, we've got this sense of teetering on the edge between the two signs. And then the new moon itself is stuck on the midpoint between Uranus and Pluto. So we've got this Uranus-Pluto square. They're building up to the last square that they're going to make, which will be in March. So this is a tightening aspect. So we've got tension there. And then we've got the moon conjunct Neptune, and it's also square to Saturn as well. And it all feels quite unforgiving. The moon is also conjunct to the asteroid Nessus, and Nessus has a rather nasty reputation in mythology. But positively speaking, though, whilst Nessus can sometimes describe abusive situations, it's been suggested, there's an astrologer, Melanie Reinhardt, and she suggests that the key phrase to Nessus is "the buck stops here," and I can really understand that. With this new moon on a very stressed midpoint and square to Saturn, you might have a bit of a feeling of being caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, and not being able to do a damn thing about it. It's that kind of feeling. And conjunct Neptune, it might be that you just want to escape, you want to forget about it, you just want to pretend it's not happening at all. But this is Aquarius. Aquarius is humanity. It's by the people, it's for the people, it's the group mind. Saturn is about taking responsibility. And as Nessus suggests, we can't pass the buck on to anyone else. At some point, it's about standing up and being counted, whether it's in our personal lives or whether it's in the wider world. Both the new and the old rulers of Aquarius, so that's new ruler is Uranus, old ruler is Saturn. With both of those intense configurations, this moon may trigger growing pains. That was what I was thinking of when I was looking at the chart, growing pains. But that's okay, because growing pain shows that you're growing. So just like the struggle of a snowdrop that rises up through frozen ground, this struggle of this new moon has its rewards, even if you have to wait for them. Mars and Venus both move into Aries on the same day, so that's the 20th of February. Now, Venus is not too happy in this sign, but Mars loves it here. He's back on home turf and he's got loads of energy to spare. So even if that new moon was a little bit tough, Mars offers some get up and go. He's courage and drive and willingness to fight for what's right. Venus might not be very happy with all this fighting stuff, but she will ask nicely for what she wants while she's in Aries. The only challenge with Mars in Aries is that it can be a little bit impatient. So he kind of wants everything done yesterday. It is possible that you might meet with some frustration when things aren't moving quickly enough. Luckily, Mars is going to form a trine to Saturn, and that's going to be on the 26th of February. And this is perfect for stabilizing this impetuous energy. With the combination of the courage of Mars and the self-discipline of Saturn, this month could end on a far more productive high note. So this month I chose the Radiant Rider-Waite deck, and this guy came out, the King of Cups, and it immediately made me think of Pisces. Technically it is related to Scorpio, but I was really drawn to his fish that's around his neck. And it's interesting because on the 19th of February, just for a very short period of time, we've got loads of planets in Pisces. We've got the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Mars, Neptune, and Chiron. So there's this huge emphasis on this sign. So there's something here about emotional reflection. The king sits on his throne that's floating in the ocean. In the ocean itself, the sea represents the unconscious, both collective and personal. And behind him, he's got a ship sailing and it's being tossed around by the waves. And then on the other side, there's a dolphin that's leaping really happily out of the water. So we get a feeling that this king has been to the depths of despair and also to the heights of passion. He feels his emotions, but he's not ruled by them. He has a really powerful understanding of how his emotions work and his own emotional state as well. On a personal level, when this card appears, it's about learning to be okay with your feelings, especially those feelings that lurk outside of your awareness. It's about being able to dive into them without the fear of drowning. When I see this card, I tend to think of the tale of King Canute, who sort of tried to hold back the tide. And the thing is with emotions is they can't really be held back. I mean, sometimes we try to hold them back and we bite our tongue and we don't tell someone we're angry or upset or hurt. But those emotions, they don't leave us. They stay with us and we can't push them away. And they're kind of like water, in that water will always find its way to the sea and our emotions will always find their way back to us. Feelings need to be felt, experienced, and acknowledged in order for them to flow. If we don't do that, if we deny those feelings, then what can happen is that they sort of get pushed down and down and down inside of us, and they can sort of come up then like a tidal wave, particularly in anger. So it might get sort of overly angry in a situation. It's completely inappropriate to what's actually happening. Or it can become stagnant, and that can manifest as depression. So it's really important to acknowledge those feelings. The King of Cups is about emotional control and intelligence. It's about being able to feel the full range of emotions. He feels everything, whether it's love, hate, anger, peace, despair, annoyance, frustration, whatever those emotions are, he does feel them, but he doesn't judge them. It's about allowing the emotions to pass through you undiluted, but not allowing them to define who you are or the decisions that you make. It's about not being overwhelmed by your emotions. So this month there is something about learning to trust your feelings, because by doing that you're more able to trust your intuition. And Pisces is very much associated with the sixth sense and its spirituality and its healing as well. Thinking back to the Yod formation that we've got Pluto and Chiron, and then we've got Jupiter as the apex of that Yod. Jupiter is the old ruler of Pisces. So maybe this card is saying something about trust that whatever you're feeling is the key to unlock your healing.